evening, everyone, and welcome to the Michigan City Council meeting for Tuesday, March the 19th. Please silence all electronic devices prior to the meeting. Stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a moment of silent prayer.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Ms. Shaliba, please take the roll.
Mr. Beatry.
Present.
Ms. Carnes. Present. Mr. Dabney. Mr. Fitzpatrick.
Present.
Mr. Hamilton.
Present.
Mr. Prespolinski.
Present.
Ms. Silvis.
Present.
Mr. Simmons. And Mr. Stimley. We have 7 present and 2 absent.
And Ms. Shaliba, for the records, Mr. Dabney and Mr. Simmons both contacted me and told me that they would not be here tonight, so they are excused. Everyone had a chance to review the minutes from the last meeting. Are there any corrections, deletions, motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Support. Motion to approve by Councilwoman Carnes and seconded by Councilman Hamilton. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Minutes are approved. Report of standing committees. Are there any reports of standing committees? Yes, there are. We had a finance committee meeting this evening prior to the council meeting. And in attendance was myself and Councilman Beatry. Councilman Dabney is absent. The meeting was called to order at 6:05, and the riverboat claims were reviewed, and the board development claims were reviewed for a total of $49,856.13. And just to review the claims under Boyd Development, it says accounts payable to the corporate payment system for $40.39. And under the riverboat claims for Armageddon police gear, $383.88. Enterprise Rent-A-Car, $1,079.09. James Myers and Associate, $1,277.50. Reith Riley Construction Company, $8,372.71. Seekins Precision LLC, $3,876. Skarlowitz Uniform, that's for the SWAT team, $8,316. Tyler Technologies, $7,600. US Optics, $3,198.60. And Walsh and Kelly Incorporated, $15,711.96 for a total of $49,815.74. Are there any other reports of standing committees? Reports of special or select committees? And what I'd like to do is give a report on the council workshop that we had for the Youth Leadership Ordinance, which was held on March the 12th. And the purpose of the meeting was to review and discuss the following proposed ordinance. Created in Section 2-461 in Chapter 2 of the Michigan City Municipal Code, establishing a Youth Leadership Commission in a restricted, non-reverting donation fund. Council President Prespolinski called the meeting to order at 5:35 p.m. and the meeting was adjourned at 6:15 p.m. Those in attendance were council members Beatrice, Simmons, Fitzpatrick, along with Robert Loney, Donnie Walker, and council attorney Jim Myers. The recommendations were as follows: to change the age limit from 16 to 22. Appointments should have demonstrated community involvement and leadership qualities. School government organizations are to nominate student representatives. Number 4, community organizations nominate their proposed member by submitting a letter stating why the organization's nomination should be considered by the council and why its nominee should be appointed, including describing the nominee's community involvement and leadership qualities. And number 5, the last recommendation, the commission is to create and adopt rules for its operation, including rules for determining when a position on the commission is vacant. For example, is a position vacant when a term expires or when a student leaves the school, or does the student remain a member until he or she is replaced?
We also,
Go ahead, Councilman.
yeah, we also noted a typo in that when we went through here. That we
Oh,
corrected.
okay.
Yeah.
All right. And if I may ask you a question, was that typo addressed to the city clerk's office
Yes.
to change that? Okay. All right, thank you. All right, any more reports of special or select committees? I don't believe so. Reports of other city officers and departments. And this evening, Mayor Muir will be honoring the fantastic state champions, Marquette Lady Blazer basketball team, for their state championship title. Mayor?
Mr. President, council members, I don't mean to turn my back on you with any disrespect here tonight, but we're here to honor the Lady Blazers. First, I'd like to thank my Chief of Staff, Kaylin Kubik, who happens to be a 1991 Marquette graduate, who set up everything and took care of all the proclamations tonight and everything. So he never has shown me his diploma, but I'm taking his word that he did graduate from there. So with that, we got an official proclamation of the City of Michigan City tonight honoring you Lady Blazers. Whereas, with 11 of 12 players and 10 seniors returning from the 2017-2018 Class A state championship team, the Marquette Lady Blazers entered this season with their own high expectations of making a title in their defense, while playing each game with a bullseye on their back and taking every opponent's best shot. Whereas, with the support of the Marquette High School administration, including President James G. White, Principal Allison Head, and Director of Athletics Brad Colligan and Head Coach Katie Colligan, the 2018-2019 Marquette Catholic Lady Blazers led them to an impressive 27-2 record. Whereas everyone anticipated a rematch of last year's Class A state title game between number 2 Vincennes Rivet and Class A number 1 ranked Marquette Catholic Lady Blazers. And whereas on February 23rd, 2019, those two top teams collided and the Marquette Catholic Lady Blazer girls basketball team culminated another remarkable regular season and tournament run with a dominant wire-to-wire victory in the IHSAA Class A Girls Basketball State Title Championship game at Bankers Life Fieldhouse in Indianapolis, Indiana. And whereas, behind a total team effort and the backing of Michigan City fans in the stands, the Marquette Lady Blazers tied a Class A state championship record by making 7 three-pointers in a never-in-doubt 57-36 victory to become back-to-back Indiana State Class A champions, once again dashing the hopes of Class A number 2 ranked team Vincennes Rivet. I like that part. The Marquette Catholic Lady Blazers girls basketball team, comprised of comprised of Sophia Nolan, Claire Salyer, Riley Grott, Cassandra Loza, Dia Rawlings, Nathalie Renega, Emery Joseph, Morgan Crook, Yakari Payne, Emma Nolan, Jordan Goodwin, and Allie McConnell, and their manager, Michael Stantz, have once again made our community proud and supplied themselves and all of us with memories that will last forever. Now, therefore, I, Mayor Ron Muir, of the City of Michigan City, do hereby proclaim March 19th, 2019 as a night of recognition for our IHSAA Class A back-to-back state basketball champions, the Marquette Catholic Lady Blazers. And just to conclude the proclamation, I congratulate the Marquette Lady Blazers girls basketball team, the players, the coaches, the administrators, as well as the parents and fans. And I hereby recognize them for their outstanding achievement of bringing a positive attention and back-to-back state Class A championship trophies home to our city. Congratulations, ladies. As you can see, the city is very proud of you, and we just can't say enough about back-to-back state championships. Wow, that is great. That doesn't get done very often from any school in the state of Indiana. But and then one other thing I just want to mention, something that I just learned recently, and I just think needs to be brought to everyone's attention, is that the young Nolan lady twins are the granddaughters of Danny Bruce, from our Danny Bruce Memorial, and an American hero and Michigan City hero. And I wanted to point that out. I didn't know it until about a couple weeks ago that these are his granddaughters. So I'm sure he's very proud. Yeah. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you.
And with that being said, do any of the council members wish to address the state championship basketball team? I have a few comments for the state championship basketball team. Because I've been trying to think, well, not trying, I mean, after I went to the game, okay, I took the time out, busy weekend, to drive down to Indianapolis to see the Lady Blazers play because I knew that history was going to be made Saturday. And it doesn't happen very often when a team from a community gets to go to a state championship, let alone make history. And I wanted to be part of that, and I wanted to come down there and see what a great job that the ladies were going to do. And not only winning a state championship is fantastic, but how you all represented Michigan City with your utmost sportsmanship. And every call that was made, I saw no disrespect to the other team. And that's what really counts. That's what really counts, is how you young ladies acted as adults on that court. And you made Michigan City very, very proud. And I was very proud to be there and see you win 2 in a row. Good luck. Good luck in your future, whatever your future endeavors are. I know that a few of you are seniors, and I think a lot of you are seniors moving on. So, good luck in what you do next year. And I know some girls are going to be moving on and playing college basketball, and good luck in those endeavors. And I know the team. I told the team before the meeting that this tie here is an official Marquette tie because it was my son Joey's tie that they wore on the basketball team when he was at Marquette. So I wore it last year, and I brought it back out and wore it again this year. So thank you very much for letting me do that. Okay, moving on with the Councilman Stimley?
Yeah, I just want to say congratulations once again for winning the back-to-back titles. You really show the true meaning of what it takes to work as a team. You're not only a great basketball team, but you represented the city very well. And congratulations once again to you. And we are honored to have you as Michigan City St. Patrick's Day Grand Marshals again. So,
Go ahead. Sure. Sure. Yeah, we'll stand up.
Oh.
You have the camera, you have the light on, you can speak over. Yeah, can we turn that off? Yeah, turn the pic, yeah, thank you. Thank you. There you go.
You guys ready?
Yeah.
1, 2, 3.
Autographs, autographs. Yeah, thank you. Hi, Kaylin. If anyone wants autographs, they'll be in the lobby here for a few minutes.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congrats, girls. Thank you. Thank you. Oh my goodness. Proud of you.
Congratulations. Mr. White.
Yeah.
Congrats, Jim.
Oh, we're going to take a 5-minute recess. 5-minute recess we have scheduled here. Okay? Let's take about a 2-minute recess. 2-minute recess. We don't need 5 minutes. Take 2. Call the meeting back to order. Ms. Shaleva, are there any petitions this evening?
There were no petitions received, but you need to do the claims docket.
Yes, yep. Okay, the claims docket in Fund 2042, Riverboat claims of $49,815.74. In Fund 2031, the Boyd Development Fund, $40.39 are the claims. Is there a motion to pay the claims?
Motion to pay claims. Support.
Motion by Councilman Beatry and seconded by Councilman Hamilton to pay the claims. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those opposed, nay. Claims will be paid. Ms. Shaleva, are there any petitions before us this evening?
There are no petitions received.
Communications?
A correspondence was received in the clerk's office on March 5th, 2019 from DLZ for their monthly activity report on the Energy Savings Project.
Yeah. And also along with on those lines, with DLZ is we're going to have the weekly progress reports are coming out to the council also, going to be emailed. So we know exactly what's going on with this project. Ms. Shaleva, before us this evening, our first ordinance by title only, without objection.
An ordinance on first reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund to provide funding for cost of supplements to the Michigan City Municipal Code, and this is introduced by Councilman Dabney.
And Councilman Dabney is not here this evening. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Is there anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance? And I can give a little explanation behind it. I know the councilman's not here. And what this is for to update the municipal code book due to the fact from the shoreline regulation ordinance to include that into the code book, because it was a very lengthy ordinance that it's going to cost the city approximately $15,000 to do that. So that's the gist of what this ordinance is for. And with that being said, is there anyone else from the council that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Okay, this ordinance will be held over to our next meeting for a second reading. And Ms. Shaliba, our next ordinance on second reading by title only, without objection, please.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, creating section 2-461 in chapter 2 of the Michigan City Municipal Code, establishing a youth leadership commission and a restricted non-reverting donation fund. And this is introduced by Councilman Fitzpatrick.
And does the councilman have anything he'd like to add at this time?
Not at this time. I do need to move that we add the amendments that we came up with on the workshop held on March 12th. They were already submitted to the clerk's office.
Support. Okay. And do we want to take the amendments one at a time, or we can take them as a group? Does
Somebody move by substitution.
Yeah.
okay.
If somebody doesn't like one, of course, you vote against it, and then you can move to amend it or.
So I'll move to move the amendments by substitution
Okay.
in total.
Okay, we need a second for that. Councilman Hamilton, okay, thank you. All right, there was a motion made by amendment by substitution by Councilman Fitzpatrick and seconded by Councilman Hamilton. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the amendments being made to the youth leadership ordinance? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the amendments? Public comment is closed. Council comments? Are there any council comments to the amendments? Okay, all right. Ms. Shaliba, on the vote, please.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
And Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
I'm sorry, we have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Okay. So the amendments have been approved. Now, is there any other comments that you'd like to make, Mr. Fitzpatrick, on the ordinance?
Not at this time.
Okay. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on the ordinance, not the amendments, but, well, you can speak about the amendments and the ordinance. Does anyone wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Any council comments? Any further council comments? Any further council comments? This ordinance will be held over for third reading in our next council meeting. Ms. Shaliba, our next ordinance on second reading by title only, without objection, please.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund to provide funding for legal publications and public notices for the city clerk's office. And this is introduced by Councilman Dabney.
And I know the councilman's not here this evening, but what this ordinance is for is to pay the News Dispatch $10,000 for the advertising for the shoreline regulation ordinance that we just got done speaking about, $15,000. So we need to pay the News Dispatch $10,000 for putting that ordinance in the paper. So it was very lengthy, very expensive. So anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Oh yeah, right. And this evening we're going to have a formal public hearing. So is there anyone from the public? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Having none, anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance? Councilwoman Silvas?
We'd like to motion for a second and third reading on this ordinance this evening.
Okay. There's been a motion for a second and third reading. So we will finish the second reading first. And is there anyone from the council that wishes to comment on this? Anyone from the council? Okay, there was a motion for third reading. Is there any objection? Okay, we will have third reading this evening. And with that being said, Ms. Schleva, please read the ordinance again by title only without objection.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund to provide funding for legal publications and public notices for the city clerk's office. And this is introduced by Councilman Dabney.
Okay, thank you. I believe the explanation's been understood. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance on third reading now? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance on third reading? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance on third reading? Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Support.
There's a motion to approve by Councilman Hamilton and seconded by Councilwoman Candace Silvas. Are there any other council comments? Having none, Ms. Schleva on the vote, please.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
And Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Okay. Thank you, Ms. Schleva. Our next ordinance on second reading by title only, Ms. Schleva, without objection.
An ordinance on second reading by title only, amending ordinance number 4492, commonly known as the 2019 salary ordinance, to amend the rate of pay for the position of vector control assistant to correctly classify the same as an hourly position and not a salaried position. And this is introduced by Councilman Prespolinski and Councilman Dabney.
And what we're doing here is we're just correcting it for the records or the ledger book, that it was a hourly position and not a salary position. So that's the gist of what the ordinance is. We're just making a correction here. With that being said, is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council wish to comment? Any council comments? Any council comments? This ordinance will be held over for third reading at our next council meeting. And Ms. Nyla, or Ms. Schleva, our first ordinance on third reading this evening by title only without objection.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, creating section 2-119 in chapter 2 of the Michigan City Municipal Code and adopting whistleblower protection policy for city employees. And this is introduced by Councilman Fitzpatrick.
And does the councilman have anything that he would like to add at this time? Okay? Does anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance?
Good evening. Paul Przybylski, 1716 Washington Street. First of all, I would like to say that I do support this new chapter into the code, and I was wondering that is there any thought about putting an amendment in here, and I would hope that it not to hold this ordinance up from being passed, but a section for a resident to file a complaint about a administrator not doing their job. In this and being, I'll give you an example. There's a lot of power that's held by the city engineer, by state code. When the city engineer comes out to look at a job or a complaint, he has the right under state code to shut that job down and to red tag it. So how do you go about filing a complaint of an employee and an appointee of the mayor? And where does it go? It goes to the mayor, and there's no action taken. So you see, if I call the planner and there's no action taken on an item, as a resident, I feel that I should have somewhere to go besides my councilman. Because you have to start a paper trail, why didn't you do this? That's all. And get some explanation to it. And this goes on, and from my experience, in my previous experience as being a council person, it does happen. So I just hope that you would look at that, Mr. Fitzpatrick, or Councilman Fitzpatrick, and amend that into the code, and I'd be glad to speak with you about that and my experiences. But besides that, I hope that you go ahead and pass this evening. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Przybylski. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance?
Good evening, Council. Mr. President, Damon Carnes, 1231 East 8th Street. Being in politics for over 20 years now, going to many council meetings, talking to different residents in the city, talking to public officials, there is a culture here in Michigan City. And that culture is when you question the powers that be, then there is a retaliation of those powers. We live in a country that says that we have the right and the freedom of speech. Now, we are protected under those rights. As long as we don't threaten or infringe on anybody's rights, we have the right to that freedom of speech. But when you're talking about a department head, the mayor, the engineer, there are several ways that when people are disgruntled or people don't agree, or when things are flat out wrong and somebody comes against that, there are all kinds of ways that these people have came up with how to get back at employees. Now, we've heard from Councilman Fitzpatrick, we've heard from Councilwoman Silvas, and we've heard from Councilman Dabney. These are people, these are residents, these are workers that are living here in Michigan City that have complaints about department heads. And I find it ironic that our mayor, Mayor Meir, who started his political platform on whistleblowing, he was a whistleblower. That's why I voted for him. I had tremendous respect for Mayor Meir. It was in the paper. He caused a whole lot of drama in the paper. I followed those articles carefully. That's why I voted for him. Because I said, if this guy can blow the whistle at this time and suffer the persecution that he did, surely if he becomes mayor, he's going to take that same whistle and he's going to clean things up. But you know what? Michigan City is no different than Washington, D.C. You get these congressmen, you get these senators, they all go there with the hopes of cleaning up the cesspool. And after a couple of years they've been in, the cesspool becomes a hot tub. And it's the same culture in Michigan City. I had tremendous respect for Mayor Meir. Now I resent the mayor. My respect has changed from respect to resent. Why is that? Because he got in there, he got in position of power, and he didn't do what he was supposed to do. And now with this ordinance, he doesn't even take a stand. He says he's not for it or against it. How can you not? That is a whip way out. I don't understand that. How can you be in a position of leadership and not lead? I don't understand that. If you're not going to lead, then get out and let somebody else do it. There's no cause for this. And now you have people that are suffering. I just got calls a couple of days ago. I've got a letter. People are suffering. These are real. Councilman is not lying. Councilman Silvers is not lying. Mr. Dabney is not lying. People are afraid. Why are you afraid to speak out over what is wrong? Isn't that what we should be doing? Retaliation. Some people can't handle it. I welcome retaliation. Some people are not built that way. So I stand for those people who can't stand for that. I speak for those people who can't speak up. I speak for the unjust. I stand for justice for those. That's my job as a man. That's my job as a pastor. It's not some political rhetoric. It's not because I'm going for a political position. I will do this to the day that I die. I was raised to be a leader. I was not raised to be a councilman. I was not raised to be a mayor. I was raised to be a leader. And just because you have a platform, just because you have a position, just because you have an office, that doesn't mean you are a leader. And I'm sick and tired of seeing weak leadership in this city. I stand 110% behind the councilman and councilwoman. We need to push this. We need this to go through. It's time to change the culture in Michigan City. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Attorney LePage.
Hi, good
Hi.
afternoon. Evening. It's evening now, I think.
Evening.
Amber LePage, Stellbrain Corporation Council. Council members, when you had your workshop a few weeks ago, I came to your workshop to share with you some policies that existed in our handbook already regarding anti-retaliation provisions. I come to you tonight to also share with you that under state and federal law, there are numerous protections that already exist for employees, whether it be under a whistleblower or anti-retaliation. Earlier today, I was pulling up state code because the provisions exist in numerous sections of state code and federal law. But one section of Indiana code stood out for me, and I sent it to Attorney Meyer, who I know had sent it to you earlier today. And I just want to read it to you so that you are fully aware of provisions that exist under state law already. And it's specifically Indiana Code 36-1-8-8. An employee of a political subdivision may report in writing the existence of a violation of a federal law or regulation, a violation of state law or rule, a violation of an ordinance of a political subdivision, or the misuse of public resources. First, to a supervisor or appointing authority, unless the supervisor or appointing authority is the person whom the employee believes is committing the violation or misuse of public resources. In that case, the employee may report the violation or misuse of public resources in writing to either the supervisor or appointing authority or any official or agency entitled to receive a report from the State Ethics Commission under Indiana Code 4-2-6-4 or 4-2-6-4B2H. If a good faith effort is not made to correct the problem within a reasonable time, the employee may submit a written report of the incident to any person, agency, or organization. For having made a report under subsection A, an employee may not, 1, be dismissed from employment, 2, have salary increases or employment-related benefits withheld, 3, be transferred or reassigned, 4, be denied a promotion that the employees otherwise would have received, or 5, be demoted. Notwithstanding A or B, an employee must make a reasonable attempt to ascertain the correctness of any information to be furnished and may be subject to disciplinary actions for knowingly furnishing false information, including suspension or dismissal, as determined by the employee's appointing authority or the appointing authority's designee. However, any employee disciplined under this section is entitled to process an appeal of the disciplinary action under the procedure set forth in any personnel policy or collective bargaining agreement adopted by the political subdivision. An employer who violates this section commits a Class A infraction. Just today, I had a council member reach out to me interested in adopting an ordinance, and this council member asked for my thoughts, and I sent this council member what state law was. I also sent this council member where provisions already existed in our code already. Nobody has done that in this case. Nobody has asked, what exists already. I'm not sure if anybody's asked that of Attorney Meyer, but no one has asked for me. So I thought it was critical to bring it to your attention that there are safeguards under state and federal law. Specifically the one I thought was very relevant that I shared with you here tonight.
Thank you, Attorney. LePage. Is there anyone else from the public that wishes to speak?
Good evening. Spike Peller, Michigan City, evil engineer. Retaliation and leader. There has been no retaliation, as far as I understand, from Mayor Meir. And as far as I understand, or I know, Mayor Meir has been the best mayor that this city has had in decades. And for everybody, anybody here that just look, when he first hired me, thanks to Attorney Meyer, when I first walked down the main street of Michigan City, there was probably about 25% vacancies in the city. Now there's maybe, 5-10%? He has done a tremendous job in this city, and for this ordinance, I just...
Go ahead, Councilman.
We're discussing this whistleblower ordinance, and it has nothing directly to do with the mayor. The mayor is an elected position and is not governed by what this ordinance represents.
Yeah, and I'm getting to my point. I believe that this ordinance, I don't know if Mayor or Attorney Meyer has reviewed this and annotated what needs to be said writing-wise and attorney-wise, but from what I can understand, it's just not a good ordinance and it's probably not enforceable.
I guess what I really, even though we got a state of Indiana law.
Mrs. Martin?
Yes.
If you would please, your address for the record.
4851 East US Highway 12, Michigan City.
Thank you.
Okay. What I don't understand is, even though you do have an Indiana law, why can't you have this one? We can, right? Okay. So I know we can. So I expect you guys to pass it. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone else from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Public comment is closed.
I have a comment that I want to make.
Go ahead, sir.
Paul Prespolinski, 1716 Washington Street. The reason I'm here, because of this whistleblower ordinance, and the reason that I brought up, particularly the item that I brought up, is because of an incident that happened to me directly in this city by getting no action by the city engineer. I was on the city council for 17 years, and I understood the position of the city engineer. And I called him out to inspect a sewer job that my sewer was cut off from me, and I was on a shared lateral, and I was never notified that the sewer was going to be cut off. That has directly, that has a direct thing with this ordinance because of what was brought up by the city engineer. The city engineer was called out there and walked away from my issue without ever asking to inspect the property. Thank you.
Anyone else from the public who should speak on this ordinance? Public comment is now closed. Council members? Comment? Councilman?
Yeah. I just wanted to say a quick thing about redundancy. When you get ready to leave your home, usually you make sure the windows are shut, you set the alarm, you lock the door, you walk outside to your fence, you lock it. Sometimes some of us have communities even gated, and you make sure you go outside and it closes behind you. Redundancy is a good thing so people feel safe.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilwoman?
This ordinance states that it's in the best interest of the city to be clear that retaliation against city employees for a true and verifiable complaint is prohibited. I agree with that, but this ordinance will not achieve that. Here's why. First of all, it's difficult to follow. There's examples and definitions interspersed with the narrative throughout this. I don't know how many people have read this in their entirety, but I would urge you to do that. Secondly, it is redundant, and it's redundant within itself. There's a clause in here about unfavorable letters of recommendations, section B, and then we go to section J, and it talks about job references. So that's repetitive, and it's also covered under Indiana Code, and more explicitly, it states under Indiana Code what information can be disclosed by former employees. So it's tougher. As was mentioned before during the workshop, we were given City Policy 503, which discusses harassment and discrimination and explicitly prohibits retaliation, as does another policy, 507, which applies to sexual abuse but also prohibits retaliation. So also in this, illegally withholding wages, also covered by federal law. So I don't see how this addition is going to make an employee more comfortable about coming forward with a complaint. From my perspective of 30 years in the workplace, small companies, large companies, and 5 years as a union steward, I don't think it gives any more protection than the existing policies and procedure. And in fact, it says that complaints should be reported to the department head. And that the department heads should conduct their own investigations and question employees regarding the alleged discrimination. If I was an employee, that would make me less likely to report an issue. I also don't like that this ordinance refers to discrimination based on handicaps. That language is no longer used, and it's considered offensive. While I'm sure that wasn't the intention, I'm very uncomfortable affixing my name to an ordinance that uses that language. We spent less than an hour on this ordinance in the workshop. Rather than implement a confusing and sometimes contradictory set of rules, why not take the time to review the other two policies, existing state and federal law, make improvements, and come up with something that would accomplish the goals of providing employees with coherent protection. I move to table this and send it back to committee.
I'll support the motion to table.
There's been a motion to table and a second. With that being said, so it's automatically tabled and there's no more.
No.
Pardon? We'll vote on that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we will vote on the tabling. And Ms. Shaliva, are you ready? Go ahead.
Mr. Hamilton?
Nay.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Nay.
Ms. Silvas?
Nay.
Mr. Stimley?
Nay.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
And Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Nay.
We have 2 in favor of tabling and 5 opposed.
Okay, so the motion has been denied to table. Are there any further comments on this ordinance? Councilman Hamilton?
Sean, since this was really your baby, one thing I asked, since we're voting on this and this is third reading, that's why I didn't want to table it, because it doesn't make any difference at this point. We need to pass it. Is if we could look at amending this at a later date and including the Indiana code. That way there, if an employee pulls this municipal code, they can reference it and go right to Indiana code or federal code, so that way there it's more of a resource than anything. That's the only thing I'd ask is if you'd look at doing that, make it more of a resource, so that the employee has not only local protection, but he sees the federal and state protection also. So, thank you.
Any further comments? I have one comment on this ordinance, and although some of the wording may duplicate what state law has, maybe federal law has, but I know that there's one portion in here that neither one have, that I'm aware of, that we were debating in our workshop, and that was that if a supervisor is found to be, whether it be discriminatory or harassment or whatever the case may be after allegations were made, or theft, that an employee made allegation that a supervisor was stealing or using city tools at their own personal home or wherever, that the supervisor is not going to have stepping discipline where you get 1 day off, 2 days off, 3 days off. If you're found guilty, then you are going to be discharged. The bottom line is you're going to be discharged because there is no room, in my mind, for forgiveness. If you're discriminating against somebody, you shouldn't discriminate against people. You shouldn't have ill feelings or what have you, or treat people wrong and then have an investigation and come back to find out that you're guilty. It shouldn't happen to begin with. And I believe that that's where Sean's going with this. And that's also my philosophy behind it. And that's why I'm going to support this. So, are there any other comments?
Mr. President?
Yeah, Councilman Beatry, I'm sorry. I can't see all the lights with all the beautiful decorations in front of us this evening.
Is your display lighting up?
Pardon?
Oh, you can't. Oh, I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, the reason why I initially was opposed to this was because when we had our workshop, we had local ordinances, rules, and procedures, 305 and 307, that already had these protections written in it. So I said then, it's redundant. We already have these protections in place. Now tonight I hear from Attorney LePage that there are 2 or 3 different levels of redundancy here. It's not only our own rules and procedures, but it's a state law and it's the federal law. So there's 3 different levels of that say the same thing that we're asked that this proposed ordinance would say. So it's redundant on 3 levels, which I didn't know until tonight.
And I understand what Councilman Fitzpatrick is saying is that redundancy is not necessarily bad, and it isn't by nature necessarily bad, but this is truly overkill to me. And there's still language in it that I tried to get amended out, but that's still in it that makes me nervous as well. That being said, Councilman Hamilton is exactly right. This is third reading. It either has to be voted in or voted out. And my argument would be, enough questions have been raised tonight to vote no on this. And I agree with Councilman Hamilton. If we're going to have this, include or at least reference the state statute and the federal statute so people know where they can go to read up on those protections. And if we vote no on this, we can do that on a new ordinance that does exactly that. If you vote yes on this, then we're stuck with 4 levels of redundancy that don't address what they should all address, which is state and federal statute. So I'm going to be opposed.
Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Fitzpatrick, do you have a comment?
Motion to approve.
Support.
Motion to approve by Councilman Fitzpatrick and seconded by Councilwoman Silvas. On the vote, Ms. Schleva?
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
Mr. Beatry?
Nay.
Ms. Carnes?
Nay.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
We have 5 in favor and 2 opposed.
And the ordinance passes. Thank you very much. Ms. Schleva, our next ordinance on third reading by title only without objection, please.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the Riverboat Fund for the local cash match for the lead-based paint hazard reduction grant the city has been awarded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, and this is introduced by Councilman Prespolinski.
And this here is basically to have the city approve our match for the $2.3 million that the city received from HUD for our new lead program that will be starting up here in Michigan City. And so the city had to have a match, and that's our match. And is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Having none. Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council wish to speak on this ordinance?
Motion to approve.
Support. There's a motion to approve by Councilman Hamilton and seconded by Councilman Fitzpatrick. Ms. Schleva on the vote.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
And Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Schleva. Our next ordinance on third reading by title only without objection.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, amending ordinance number 4492, commonly known as the 2019 salary ordinance, to add the positions of lead program manager and lead program inspector rehabilitation specialist in the planning and inspection department, for implementing the lead grant the city has been awarded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development. And this is introduced by Councilman Prespolinski.
And I do not have anything further to add to this ordinance. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the council? Any council comments?
Motion to approve.
Support. There's been a motion to approve by Councilman Hamilton and seconded by Councilman Fitzpatrick. Are there any other council comments? Having none, Ms. Schleva on the vote.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Schleva. Our next ordinance on third reading this evening by title only without objection, please.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, creating section 2-411 in chapter 2 of the Michigan City Municipal Code to establish a restricted non-reverting fund to receipt and disperse monies from the federal-led grant awarded to the city by HUD. And this is introduced by Councilman Prespolinski.
And this is where the $2.3 million that we will be receiving from HUD for the lead grant program is going to be put, and that's the basis of what the ordinance is for. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Having none? Council comments?
Motion to approve.
There's a motion to approve by Councilman Hamilton and seconded by Councilman Fitzpatrick. Are there any other council comments? Are there any other council comments? Having none, Ms. Schlieba, on the vote, please.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Schlieba. Our next ordinance on third reading this evening by title only without objection.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, creating section 2-460 in chapter 2 of the Michigan City Municipal Code, establishing a commission on sustainability and a restricted non-reverting donation fund. Introduced by Ms. Carnes, co-sponsored by Mr. Beatry, Mr. Stimmons, Mr. Stimley, Ms. Silvas, and Mr. Prespolinski.
And does the original sponsor have anything that she would like to add, or any of the co-sponsors?
Yes.
Councilwoman Carnes?
Yes, as I said before, I was approached by members of the community that were concerned about sustainability and green development. And I wrote this ordinance, and I see this commission as involving the community and also helping to implement the sustainability initiative that's in our comprehensive plan MC 2040.
Thank you, Councilwoman. Any of the other authors wish to speak? Having none, anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wish to speak on this ordinance? Having none? Any council comments?
Motion to approve.
Support. Motion by Councilman Hamilton and seconded by Councilman Beatry. Are there any further council comments? Any further council comments? Having none, Ms. Schlieba, on the vote, please.
Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
And Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Schlieba. And I believe, this is our final ordinance this evening on third reading by title only without objection.
An ordinance on third reading by title only, approving additional appropriation in the budget of the local option income tax Lloyd Fund for the purchase of equipment and uniforms for the Michigan City Police Department. This is introduced by Councilman Prespolinski and co-sponsored by Councilman Simmons.
Thank you, Ms. Schlieba. And this is exactly for the new police officers that will be, 6? Thank you, Chief. The new 6 police officers that are being hired by the police department to clothe them and also give them their safety equipment that they need. Is there anyone from the public that wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Anyone from the public wishes to speak on this ordinance? Having none, are there any council comments?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve by Councilman Hamilton.
Support.
Support by Councilman Beatry. Any other council comments? Any other council comments? Ms. Schlieba, on the vote.
Mr. Fitzpatrick?
Aye.
Mr. Hamilton?
Aye.
Mr. Prespolinski?
Aye.
Ms. Silvas?
Aye.
Mr. Stimley?
Aye.
Mr. Beatry?
Aye.
And Ms. Carnes?
Aye.
We have 7 in favor and none opposed.
Thank you, Ms. Schlieba. Under unfinished business this evening, we have nothing. Under new business, FYI, the Common Council has one appointment to the Michigan City Promise Scholarship Commission, and the term expires 5/1/20 2019. And the incumbent is Mrs. Shelley Barnes. So that's FYI. So at the next meeting, we will be taking nominations for that position. And in the meeting afterwards, we will vote on that position. Okay. Now this is public comment time. Are there any comments from the public? Any comments from the public this evening? Any comments from the public this evening? Okay. I thought there might be a couple. There's a lot of people here this evening. Okay. Public comment is now closed. Are there any comments from the council? Any council comments? I have one comment, and that deals with the NIPSCO rate hike for both residents and the rate reduction for industrial users. And myself and Councilman Fitzpatrick took a ride over to Hammond High School a couple of weeks back on March 11th and attended the hearing that the Indiana Regulatory Commission put on for, I guess you would call Northwest Indiana. They had one meeting there, and you were supposed to have another meeting in Goshen. So anyway, we attended the meeting. It just happened. Councilman Fitzpatrick was the first person right out of the gate to give his opinions, and I was number two. And we did get our point across that this will be an undue hardship on everyone in Michigan City, both residents, both business, both government. What we're going to have to spend now, an additional $200,000 a year, approximately, on NIPSCO bills. When that money could be going towards safety equipment, that money could be going towards sidewalks, that money could be going towards bus stop shelters, and could also be going towards pay raises and benefits for the employees. So that's where our money is going to be spent, $200,000. And there were approximately 250 people at that hearing. And I know that Sean and I left around 9:30. It started at 6 o'clock. Yeah, so it was a lengthy meeting, but it was a great meeting and a great experience. And I'm also proud to say that the city of Gary and the city of Hammond, and there was one more city, I want to say Highland, that they actually asked and called our city clerk here to get a copy of our resolution that Michigan City did. Michigan City was the leader out of any other municipality in Northwest Indiana or Northern Indiana. No other municipality put a resolution together to take a leadership role, and Michigan City Common Council did. So, the city of Gary, like I said, the city of Hammond, I believe Highland, they all called here, got a copy of our resolution, and they were there at that meeting to speak also. So, very proud of that. Councilman, appreciate you going over there with me. I think we learned a lot. With that being said, I have no further comments. Motion to adjourn by Councilman Hamilton. Is there a second?
Support.
Councilman Fitzpatrick, thank you very much. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Meeting's adjourned.